simplify the rational expression. In order to simplify this, what would be the first step? We have some students online. Let's start with Sunit. Sunit, what do you think we should do first?
Factor them.
Very good. We need to factor these. So let's start with factoring each of these. Let's take a look at the first one. Sunit, how do you factor this one? 2x to the power of 2 minus x minus 1. How do you factor that?
I said the first term on both of them is 2x. 2x plus 1 times x minus 1.
So we pick 2x and x here, since we have 2x to the power of 2, so the product of those would be 2x to the power of 2. And then we look at the constant here, 1. The only possibility here we could have is 1 and 1, so we put 1 here and 1 here. And if I multiply the two closest term and two furthest term here, I should get the middle term. And here I get x, and here I get 2x. Here we want to make minus x out of that. So in order to do that, we need to have the 2x must be negative and x must be positive. So we would make this plus positive here, and then this 1 would be negative. Now if you look this carefully, when you multiply the last two terms, plus 1 times minus 1 give you negative 1. First two terms give you 2x to the power of 2, and then if I multiply the two closest term and two furthest term, I should get minus x. Minus 2x plus x would be minus x. So we factor that. Let's go ahead and factor this one right here. Let me see. If I ask those people who logged in tonight, if you don't know how to answer, just go ahead and put the X in front of your name so I can move on quickly. But if you know how to factor them, just respond please. Joshua, can you tell me how to factor this part here, x to the power of 2 minus 2x plus 1? Okay, this question is for Joshua. How do you factor this?
X plus 2 and then x minus 1.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. For x to the power of 2, we should put x and x. You said x plus 2. We look at the constant here. The constant here is 1. So that's the number. We're looking for two numbers. When you multiply them together, we get 1. And your only choice would be 1 times 1 here, right, Joshua? You shouldn't get 2 there. Follow that so far?
So then it'd be x minus 1, x plus 1?
Right. Once we establish the number, then we can look at the, again, two closest term and two furthest term. That would be one way to factor them. This would be x and x. So in this case, here, as you see, we want to make minus 2x out of this. You have 1x here, 1x here. In order to make this minus 2x, what should be the sign of this, Joshua?
A negative.
Right, so both has to be negative, right? So again, once again, take a look at this. We have x times x is x squared here, minus 1 times minus 1, that give you, very good, that would be plus 1, right? And then when you multiply the two closest term and two furthest term, you get a minus x and minus x. That should add up to minus 2x, which is right here. Very good. Let's move on with this. Let's take a look at the next one. We want to factor this here. Let's see. Who wants to tell me how to factor that?
Is it x minus 1 and x plus 3?
Okay, x minus 1, x plus 3. So once again here we're going to look at the first term, x to the power of 2. So we place x and x here. And then for 3, for this constant 3, the only possibility we could have is 1 and 3. So if I put 1 here and 3 here, then we want to make plus 2 once I multiply the two closest term and two furthest term. So in order to make plus 2, as you see here, 3 must be equal to positive and 1 has to be minus. So it would be x minus 1 times x plus 3. That's how you factor this. And let's go ahead and factor the last polynomial here. So let's go back to Sunith. Sunith, how do you factor this last one?
I got 2x plus 1 times x plus 3.
Yeah, very good. So you pick 2x and x, so you come up with 2x squared, and you look at the constant 3 here, so you picked 1 and 3, and then you want to see if I can make positive 7x out of that. So if I multiply the two closest term and two furthest term, here would be x, and that would be 6x. So if I have positive front of these, then it should add up to 7x. So that would be positive and that would be positive. So the next step is to reduce this. Let's see, we have 2x plus 1 here. That 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1 would reduces to 1. So let's do that. So this would be 1, this would be 1, and we have x plus 3 and x plus 3 turns to 1. And then here we have x minus 1 and x minus 1 turns to 1. And then here we have x minus 1 and x minus 1 turns to 1. So it looks like at the top of the fraction we get 1 times 1, everything turns to 1, and so at the bottom of the fraction everything turns to 1. So this would be equal to 1 over 1, or just simply 1. That's how you simplify this. Okay, simplify. Let's see, we have some students online here. Who wants to tell me what would be a first step here? Joshua, can you tell me what's the first step?
You have to simplify the x squared minus 25.
What do you mean by simplify? You mean factor?
Yes, factor it out.
Okay. Can you tell me how you factor this? The first part then?
Yes, it'll be x minus 5 and then x plus 5.
Right, so that's a difference of square. Very good. X minus 5, x plus 5. Alright, Sunith, can you tell me how do you factor this part here?
The bottom part, I got x minus 3 times x plus 3.
Okay, so for x to the power of 2, you select x. You said x minus 3, x plus 3. Is that what you said, Sunny?
X minus 3, x plus 1.
Right, that's 1. So that would be 1 and 3. That's right. And then in order to get a minus 2x here, we have to have minus 3 and plus 1 here. That's correct. Now, Sunith, what do we have to do for this division?
You have to change it into multiplications, but you will reverse the second part.
Very good. So you keep the first fraction as is, and then you change the division to multiplication, and then you flip this over, just like that. And then we continue factoring this. So, okay, Sunith, why don't you continue? Tell me what do we get for factoring these two, the top. Let's start with this one.
For that one, I choose 10 and 2. So I get x minus 10 times x plus 2.
That's correct. So x and x would be for x squared. For 20, you picking 2 and 10. So you can get negative 8 out of that if 10 is minus and 2 is plus. Okay, continue, Sunith, with the last part. How do you factor this part?
That part I choose 5 and 2 for the 10, so I get x minus 10 times x plus 2.
Okay, you mean you pick 2 and 5, and then you want to get negative out of negative 3 out of that right here. So you would pick minus 5 plus 2. And the next step would be to reduce, and looks like I can reduce x minus 5 with x minus 5, that turns to 1, x plus 2, and x plus 2 turns to 1. Doesn't look like I can reduce anything else, so this whole thing would be equal to x plus 5 times x minus 10 at the top of the fraction, and then at the bottom of the fraction you would have x plus 1 times x minus 3. That's how you simplify this.